Let's move into the stress piece. This is something that's a little bit more subjective and a little less obvious when it comes to metabolic health. Talk about that connection there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I end my book with the talking about stress. And actually, the last chapter, which is my favorite chapter of the book, is called Fearlessness, the highest level of good energy. And I think that, you know, so much of our world has changed, and we've talked about this a lot during this episode, but maybe the craziest thing about our modern life is the fact that we literally have the stresses and fears of 8 billion people being able to be streamed to devices in our homes and in our hands while we're laying in bed 24 hours a day. So the amount of information that is fear-inducing, stressful, catastrophic, wars, natural disasters, murder, everything. It's literally being funneled directly towards our brains and eyeballs. And this is like 10 years old. This is like brand new. Of course, we had newspapers and we had radio over the last, but it is a totally different level where we can literally see people being dismembered halfway across the world 5 minutes after it happens while we're laying in bed. And I think above almost anything, even the food, the 70% ultra processed foods that we're eating, this is totally unprecedented. And we are just getting absolutely crushed. I mean, the depression rates, the suicide rates, it's all going up. And it's like, well, yeah, of course. The world is petrifying almost like artificially in a way because there's bad stuff happening, but now it's all happening in our brains. So it's astonishing how much this is affecting our cellular biology because more than just being a powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria it's got many other jobs. And one of the real jobs that it has is being it helps coordinate cellular energy throughout the cell and throughout the body. So it's kind of like the motherboard that takes in all the environmental inputs and then says like, how are we going to distribute resources in the body towards, rebuilding and thriving versus like defense and repair. And right now, the message the mitochondria is getting through our neurobiology, through our hormones, through our cortisol, through all the ways that these fearful, stress-inducing stimuli are basically translating into our biochemistry, the signal they're getting is that the world is profoundly unsafe. We are essentially at war all the time. And it is not a safe time to be alive because that's what we're seeing all the time. And it essentially channels resources towards war and defense and alarm and chronic inflammation and all of this stuff. And so a big part of our metabolic health journey is actually finding ways to help our mitochondria feel safe from a psychological perspective, which means changing how we think, what we're seeing, and kind of being the parent for our 40 trillion cells and the thousands of mitochondria in each of those cells to say, like, I'm going to choose what I let in and what I don't. And I'm going to psychologically create safety inside this body so that you can do your best work and channel energy towards thriving and repair rather than defense and alarm. So that is each of our jobs as individuals because no one can do that for us. We can have people help us because, of course, if you get a hug from someone you love, your body's going to secrete oxytocin, and that's a wonderful signal for your cells and your mitochondria. But fundamentally, this is our job. It's our job in setting boundaries. It's our job in understanding what is creating fear in our bodies and how do I limit that? And how do I use my thoughts to create biochemical safety inside my body? And that is just, we have to go down that journey because we are just getting crushed by the fear signals around us. And, during COVID, the CNN technical director was literally caught on an undercover camera saying, oh yeah, on CNN, if it bleeds, it leads. Like fear-inducing media is what sells because we are biologically hardwired to pay attention to things that could be a threat to us. So if that TV's on and it's scary, we're going to want to watch it because there's something primal in us that says, I need to see this to protect myself. But you need to realize that this is a big industry manufactured charade. Like, of course, there's bad things happening in the world, but we have to protect how much of it we're letting into our bodies and be present enough to be able to sit in a park or sit with our kids or sit somewhere in the sunshine and say, oh yeah, actually, this day is very beautiful. and I'm actually okay right now, and I'm not under threat right now, and we're good, and have that type of presence, because the world is trying to make you think that that's not the case. And it's also important to remember that if we are petrified, if we are existentially afraid of everything going on around us, we're going to seek the highly palatable foods that make us feel a little bit better. We're going to seek the dopamine hits through all these things that are being kind of sold to us. And we are going to be consumers of more products to basically mitigate that existential angst. It's all a big game. And we have to basically create that safety for ourselves and create the boundaries to the fear-inducing messaging coming towards us. And that is actually a key part of our metabolic health journey.
And unfortunately, at this point in time, we have these messages coming at us, creating fear. We might be under artificial lights, sedentary by day, eating the ultra processed food. And you can only imagine, as a human being, with all the different inputs and where we've gotten to as a society, which again adds up to that 93% number of being metabolically unhealthy. So I think first step is being real with where we're at, like we've done here. And then second step is sharing the hope, like we've done. And then third step is giving people the basic changes and tools, like we've done here. And underneath all this, there is a message of hope. We can change this. And awareness is the first step. And now people, throughout this conversation, your book, throughout a lot of different messaging online, fortunately, this messaging is starting to get through and people have the power to change.
That's exactly right. I think that's the perfect take home message. Yeah, it's our bodies are spectacular and are constantly evolving, and everyone, no matter where you're at, has the opportunity to feel better. I've seen incredible radical changes in so many people who have made simple changes. And I think, yeah, it's really about just like kind of understanding the truth, like you said, about what's going on inside our bodies, being really real about it, and then just taking small steps that feel accessible to start making some of these changes that protect our cells and mitochondria, because wins beget wins. So, something I share in the book is like, start with the things that there's a lot of strategies, right? To like help. There's the food, there's the sleep, exercise. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. So pick some things that feel doable, accessible, that you can really commit to, that maybe even feel fun, and commit to those, just a couple of them, because those will lead you to feel a little bit better, which will make you want to do more. And then it's just a virtuous cycle rather than a downhill cycle that we're kind of in. So, yeah, definitely a message of hope, and love that you're spreading so much hope in the world, Jesse, with your podcast.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
Everyone needs to care about this, because metabolism and metabolic health, it is the core foundational layer that all health is built upon. That is the biggest blind spot in Western healthcare.